Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Elune here, and welcome back to each one of you. And of course, if you're new here, thank you so much for joining us. I am very happy to have you here. Remember to slap that like button on your way in, sit down, grab some popcorn, a drink, if you will, because we're about to do some analysis of the new cinematic by our hand. It's where we, I guess, see Elune for the very first time. We do hear Elune for the very first time. And just very quickly, before we even get into the video, I sort of had to split myself with the making of this video into two parts. Part number one is the speculator, the YouTuber, the person that just loves talking about the future of World of Warcraft and where the story may or may not be going. The other part is Narrative Elune. Narrative Elune did not like the cinematic whatsoever. Now, I will have a separate video where I talk about why the narrative in this cinematic makes no sense, why the narrative for World of Warcraft ever really since Legion have stopped making sense. So we're going to cover all of that in a separate video. Today I'm just going to be focusing on the analysis of this video and what the future of this video or of the lore may hold in store for us. So yeah, if you want to go along on that journey, stay tuned. Also, sadly, there is no chapters on this one. It's very difficult to do chapters on an analysis video since everything is sort of important as you go through the cinematic. So I do apologize right off the bat for that. Please remember that if you want to join this channel live, if you want to support this channel over on Patreon, get some podcasts, get some behind-the-scenes videos, the links to all of those things is in the description down below. And with that said, let's jump into the video. Right, so first things first, before we even get into the video, there's a couple of things that I want you to pay attention to as things kick off. The way and the tone that the Winter Queen is addressing Elune with. Now, for everyone that doesn't know what happened prior to this, Tyrande was basically losing her mind. She was summoning more and more of Elune's power, and her power was threatening to destroy the whole of Ardenweald. The Winter Queen intervenes, basically subdues Tyrande, and now continues to speak to her sister. The tone of this was very interesting to me, so pay attention to it as we watch it, and then I'll tell you why this tone was so interesting to me.
How dare you come here, sister, after our cries for aid went unheard.
So, first things first, how dare you come here, sister? The very first line suggests, to me at least, that Elune has been here before, right? So this most of you might be going, Elune, no shit, what are you talking about? Of course she's been there before. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of thoughts about Elune. Some people thinking that Elune was never part of the Shadowlands. Other people thinking, no, of course she was part of the Shadowlands. The lines and the way the Winter Queen approaches and addresses Elune suggest that Elune was once part of the Shadowlands. But it suggests something far bigger than that, right? There's something behind just the mere idea that Elune was once part of the Shadowlands.
Unanswered.
I heard your cries.
I told you to pay attention to the tone of what the Winter Queen is saying and how she is saying it. I almost got the idea that while she is speaking to, as she claims, her sister, I get a hint, and I'll let you listen to it again before we continue, but I get a hint, maybe I'm wrong, but I get a hint of almost subordinate. The Winter Queen is not talking to an equal here. She's talking to someone who is superior to her, someone that is stronger than what she is. After our cries for help went unanswered, almost as if you were our leader once. You were supposed to save us. When we called to you, why did you not intervene? Why did you not help us? And you were nowhere to be found. So she's not afraid of Elune. She knows that Elune would not strike her down, but she is angry with Elune because they called, they asked, they pleaded, and nothing helped. Like, nothing happened. So I'll let you listen to it again, just so that you can tell me if I'm wrong on this.
Come here, sister, after our cries for aid went unheard, unanswered.
I heard your cries, felt your pain.
Alright, so there's a couple of things that I want to highlight here. First and foremost, the eyes of Tyrande, the change in her eyes when Elune is speaking through her. light. Look at Elune, look at the entire outline around Tyrande. It's light, but it's almost as if it's an eclipse. It looks like the moon in front of the sun, where you have this darkish figure with the light just sort of rimming around it. The edges are lit up. The entire being that is Elune at this point, or that is Tyrande at this point, seems to radiate this sort of edge light effect. The moon just being more and more, and remember the cosmology map, hopefully Addicts will put that on the screen right now, where you see the crescent moon on the side of death, but then also the sun and the moon eclipsing each other on the side of life.
And in the wake of tragedy, send forth a cascade of souls.
So first and foremost, very quickly, need to highlight this for everyone that missed it, because I've seen a lot of people going, oh my god, so Elune actually planned this. So Elune told Sylvanas to do it in the wake of tragedy. In other words, this wasn't her plan. The burning of Tildrassil was in fact a tragedy. But in the wake of that tragedy, with that happening, Elune had a choice. I could save my own people from the suffering and the burning, or I can save the Shadowlands. And that's where she made her decision. That's where she sent her aid. The souls, the cascade of souls.
To sustain you. Oh.
Again, I get this idea of subordinate master. I send a cascade of souls to sustain you. In other words, I did not abandon you. I'm still your leader. I still provide for you. I still look out for you. I'm still here for you. I sent the souls to sustain you. I don't know why, but that's the feeling that I get. I have no evidence to back this up whatsoever. But that's the feeling I get in this exchange between the Winter Queen and Elune.
The great tree. All who perished there were claimed by the Maw.
And here we have the first piece of evidence that the Shadowlands, the drought of the Shadowlands, predates quite heavily the fall of the Arbiter. Okay, the Winter Queen asks Elune, how dare you come here after our cries for help went unanswered? Elune then says, I heard your cries. And I sent the cascade of souls to sustain you. The suggestion being that, and the Winter Queen makes it clear as well, this has been going on for such a long time. We've been wanting your help for such a long time, and you were nowhere to be found. Elune then decides to send the souls as help in the wake of this tragedy. I'll send my souls to sustain you. But we know, thanks to the timeline at least, that, at least according to what Blizzard is saying, now all of this could possibly be retconned. But according to Blizzard, and according to what we know about Blizzard, the Arbiter went down somewhere, right? Somewhere around Legion. Either be it early Legion to somewhere mid-Legion, right? That's not a long time for, that's not a long time for a drought. The way they're speaking here is as if this drought has been going on for a very long time. So I just sort of... There's speculation, by the way, that backs this up, where we believe that the Arbiter going down was the final thing. There's evidence of it where Prince Ranethal actually explains that Denathrius is the one responsible for the drought. Denathrius started hoarding anima long before the Arbiter even went down. The Arbiter's betrayal came somewhere else. And according to Prince Ranethal, by the way, if you guys go run the raid, Castle Nathria, in the raid at Stone Generals, I think it's the Stone Generals, Ranethal actually explains that the Arbiter was undone by her trust in Denathrius. So Denathrius is the one that brought down the Arbiter. Don't know exactly how, but he is the one that brought her down. He is also the one responsible for the drought. And this exchange also suggests something similar. This exchange suggests that this drought has been going on for a very, very long time, and her eyes are just so eerie. But I must admit, Tyrande looks absolutely phenomenal here.
Then I have condemned my favored children.
I am yet to understand why. I know that we have always sort of assumed that the Night Elves are the favored children of Elune. I recognize and realize that, no problem. But why? Elune is worshipped throughout the entire Great Beyond. She has people on almost every single planet. We know this thanks to the Shadowlands in large part, where we get beings from every walk of the Covenant life that at one point or another worshipped Elune, except for Bastion, because they can't remember what the hell they did in life. But everyone else can remember, and they were once worshippers of Elune. But why the Night Elves? Now, there's an interesting little tidbit here that I want to share with all of you, and it's the creation of the Night Elves. Not much is known about why. The current theory that we have, backed up by the chronicles, is that the trolls, because of the influence of the Nightwell, and my speculation, the influence of the old gods, evolved into elves, right? But what if that's not true? What if it was actually the influence of Elune? In other words, what if the Well of Eternity had nothing to do with it? The Titans simply didn't know. They just assumed, much like what we do these days with biology, where we make assumptions, and if the assumption explains the outcome, we go, this must be true, right? What if the Titans did exactly that? But what if the actual reason the elves came into being, and why eventually Elune decided to claim the Kaldarai as her children, right? So all elves were made by her, but the Kaldarai became her children. What if it's because she is the one that guided that evolution? Now, this would fit into a speculation theory that I had years ago. I'm not going to be able to find that video now, but this was during the days of Legion, where I sort of said it is possible, it is conceivable, that the trolls' very existence is because of the old gods. That the old gods were the ones who created the trolls, because we're never told how the trolls came into existence. Never. So my speculation is perhaps the trolls were made by the old gods. Elune, seeing this force coming into existence from the old gods, a force that would be feared, decided to intervene and make her own people out of their creation. Perhaps because Elune herself does not have the power of creation. She can twist creation and she can turn creation, but she cannot create herself. She herself cannot make something be born. And there is also a chance that that might be the story of the Blue Child. First, there was the moon. And then according to the folk and fairy tales, the moon created the Blue Child. Perhaps the Blue Child is not so much the moon that it created, but her people, her children, her favorite children. She created them. We simply call it the moons because it's fables, stories. Anyway.
By our hand, we may yet guide their souls unto their spring.
Now, after this, Tyrande explains that this was not simply Elune's tear. This was her tear as well. She, too, was crying for her people and for the loss of life. A touching moment, to say the very least. Also, very interesting, again, I don't know why this is interesting. It is interesting, though. The tears of Elune. There's a sadness to Elune that I genuinely can't understand. Now, remember the story I told all of you, the story in the folk and fairy tales about Anshe and Musha. How Anshe and Musha once fought the darkness, and the darkness struck a blow to Anshe where his heart would be, a wound that simply would not heal. And I told you that perhaps, just perhaps, this is the story of Zuval and Elune. And if you want to watch that video, it's right there. I'll link it for you right there. Alex, remind me, please, that that video is there. What if that is the sadness? She lost her lover. She lost her confidant. She lost in that battle with the darkness. And perhaps she's been searching ever since for a way to save Zuval, to bring him back, to stop the darkness spreading through his soul. This is all very, very, very big 5-head fucking brain cannon, right? Head cannon stuff. It's interesting to think about.
Starting with this one.
Tyrande invoked me. She must choose.
It is interesting to me that they have a choice. We've been led to believe that the Night Warrior doesn't have a choice. The Night Warrior will eventually claim its host, the power of Elune. And now apparently it appears that that's not entirely true. They can decide to say no to the vengeance, right? They can decide to say nope. Now this of course plays more into what happened between Tyrande and Sylvanas. And perhaps this is why Elune interfered, why she intervened just before Tyrande could actually kill Sylvanas. She did not believe that this was a worthy thing to die for. She did not believe that this was a worthy cause. And so she did not grant her final power to stop Sylvanas. Now, one might make the argument that had she known all of those souls would have flooded into the maw, she may have changed her mind, although it doesn't seem to affect her that much. The fact that those souls are in the maw doesn't seem to affect her, not to the largest extent. But I will take a moment to talk about something else here, and that is the evil of that moment. The idea that Elune could just decide, rather than saving her own people, she will feed them to the maw, or to the Shadowlands rather. She didn't know they were going to the maw, but she would feed them gladly to the Shadowlands. Is this not exactly what Sylvanas was fighting against? Before the Zuval basically double bluff, before Zuval effectively wanted to dominate the world, is this not the very thing that Sylvanas was fighting against? The fact that the gods get to play with our lives and we have nothing to do with it. We can't guide it, we can't decide it, there's nothing. And I'm reminded of the words of Sylvanas at the end of her fight with Tyrande. Bask in the dying embers of your goddess's bargain, Tyrande. Nothing lasts. Those words were not taunting. They were almost sad. She understood what Tyrande invoked. She knew how desperately Tyrande wanted this. But nothing lasts, because when the gods do not will it, doesn't matter what you or I want. I'm not saying you have to agree with what Sylvanas did. From a narration perspective, what Blizzard did with Sylvanas makes no sense to fucking anyone. But in the conditions, if the conditions are met for simple lore speculation, then you have to ask yourself, does Sylvanas not have a point? That we are simply used as fuel for the fires of the Shadowlands?
Vengeance or renewal?
I feel like they make such a big... Again, look at the skin. Look at the eclipse-like skin of Tyrande, but they make a very big deal of vengeance or renewal, as if this is the two sides of Elune. This is the only two sides that she has. She can either dole out vengeance or she can help you renew. There's just a lot of emphasis there. I don't exactly know why that emphasis is there. And then, of course, we see incredible power. The Tear of Elune restored. This now flows into the heart of the forest, right? This is what saves the heart of the forest. And from this, actually, a new sigil is born. That is the power of Elune. Elune alone could restore the heart of the forest and restore the sigil of the forest. Elune's power is incredible. Don't know how incredible yet, but it is clearly incredible. And then, of course, showcasing that Tyrande is back. The Blue Eyes, of course, newer addition to the game, but Tyrande is back. After this, Tyrande is cleansed. She feels herself again. The question, of course, remains, does she still have lingering power of Elune? Does she still have the ability to invoke the power of Elune? Now, as for the meaning of the Blue Eyes, I have a bunch of theories, but I'm not really ready to share any of those theories just yet. I do believe that ultimately the story of Tyrande and Elune is not over yet. Now, remember, as I said, this is not a narrative discussion. That narrative discussion will come a bit later. For now, this was just to talk about the future and potential story of Elune, Tyrande, and the Shadowlands. The narrative discussion, I promise you, is going to be very, very different. Then, of course, if you like this video, if you like videos like this one, please remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and smash that bell that notifies you whenever we put out brand new content. I really cannot thank you enough. I hope you enjoyed this video, ladies and gentlemen. To all of the patrons, the Twitch subs, and the YouTube channel members, thank you so much for your monthly contributions. And if you want to catch early access to almost all of my videos, as well as the podcast, the behind-the-scenes footage, Patreon really is the place for you. It supports the channel. It allows us to branch out and do crazier and crazier things. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. And I will see you in the next one. Peace out, fam.